Hello, thank you for joining us. We're going to do a little demo on oysters. We're going to do some raw, we're going to do some baked. We have two types of oysters that we have today. One is coming from Delaware Bay, New Jersey. These are stormy bays. These will have, these, as you can tell, are more of a medium to large type oyster. They're really big ones, but this one's going to have a nice medium brine flavor, plumpy texture, and you can see, most oysters, no matter what size, no matter what shape they are, they'll have a smooth top, and then more of what we call a cup. So when you open them, you're going to want to open them so that the cup stays, and the cup is the part that the oyster stays into. Okay, and just remember, oysters, as long as they're closed, they're still alive, and you want to eat them when they're alive. If an oyster is open, you do not want to eat that, and all. Most likely there'll be a smell. You can try to close it, and as long as it does close, then that's a good oyster to eat. Okay. The other oyster we have is Malpec. These are coming from Prince Edward Island, further up in the Atlantic Ocean. A lot colder water. These are going to have a strong briny flavor. Crisp. You can tell these are more of a smaller size shell. Still, even though they have a little different shape, still has a cup and more of a flat top. So we're going to go over, kind of how to open them, and then we're going to bake some, and then we'll have some raw as well. Okay. So when you open oysters, you can have gloves. There's gloves that have more of a rubber texture. You can wear those, or you can just use a towel. You want to take the oyster, kind of put it in there, and you want to get it from the joint. This is the joint right here, where we want to just dig in there, just wiggle in, trying to give a little pressure. And once you know you're kind of in, then you can pop it. And take your knife along the top, trying to keep all those juices in. Pull out some of the shells, and then this other, then it's also attached on the bottom, so you want to take that. And then you can also, sometimes you'll see, flip it over, check for any shells inside, but flip it over and all, and you can give a nice presentation, for raw. We'll do the same thing. And sometimes you have to be careful. Depending upon the oyster, the shells can be very fragile. Scrape down that top one. You want to get all the meat that you can. Then we're going to do a couple for baked. You do the same thing for baked. You still take the top shell off. We're going to put this on a skillet so it can go into the oven. We're going to do the same thing to the other oysters, the Malbec. And some of these, can be a little funky, so they can be tricky. You still do it the same way. Try to make sure you get as much of the shells out as possible. Sometimes the shells are a little too crumbly because of deterioration in the water. Do a couple raw. Here at the restaurant, Left Bank, when we do raw, all we do is serve it with a little mignonette. Mignonette is a little bit of a acidic, vinegar-based, lemon juice-based, acid-based, usually with some sort of shallots or capers or any type of garnish. Cocktail sauce, which is just ketchup and horseradish, and then a lemon wedge. Now for our baked oysters, what we do is we add a compound butter. Compound butter you can put almost anything in a compound butter. You can put sweet potatoes, you can put tomatoes, you can put shallots, you can put scallions. What we've done here. This is sun-dried tomato, this is scallions, and this is Chevre cheese. So we've just we've softened the butter, we've cooked down and chopped up the sun-dried tomatoes, mixed in the Chevre, and then kind of just folded that into the softened butter. And then while it's still soft, we roll it in saran wrap. And then so it's a nice big log. And then we use it to cut down, then we just top these with just a little bit of this butter. And then on top of that, we just use a little panko, breadcrumbs. Right on top of that. And then we put this into an oven roughly about 450 degrees. The higher the better, because the oysters won't take long to cook no matter what temperature it is, but then you also want the breadcrumbs to brown up nicely. All right, now that we're back, we just pulled out the baked oysters from the oven. These are the Malbec, and you can see that there's a nice golden color on top. There's still a little juice, you know, with the oyster juice and the butter that we put on top. So these are going to be very lovely. A little brininess, a little sweetness, and some kind of fat content from the butter. It's going to be very good. And then, you know, using the little bit of lemon wedge on top will give it a nice little acidity as well to cut through any more of the butter. So again, these are some examples of some raw and some baked oysters.